Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Camera Tuesday, we're going to talk about Insta360 Link webcam. So let's dive right into it. And let's not talk about the weird naming convention. I genuinely want them to let go of that Insta360 because they are making enough products that if they do not have clear names, it's confusing. So Insta360 Link is a new webcam that they have launched. It's not fully launched yet, so you may have to wait a bit to buy it. Again, price and availability is out. It's just like it will take some time to reach public. It's a gimbal-based 4K webcam. Now, there are some other gimbal-based webcam, but this is a very unique approach because it's a camera company first with good enough experience where they're like, no, we are just not a random company that's making random. The name Insta360 has some value, some credit to it. So them jumping into it is kind of interesting. So 4K. Now 4K is not very desirable for a webcam simply because even if you, let's say, use Google Meet 720p only, you have to use paid zoom in order to get full HD. So that's the whole point. 4K is not that desirable unless you are doing recording or streaming. So it does have a lot of AI based feature, and these are not gimmicky features. These are features, if you need it, you need it. If you don't, you don't. So but they are useful for many people. They are like, shut up and take my money. And it has a very small footprint. So if you are carrying your laptop, you do not have to, oh, this is a big ginormous thing. No, it's a very small thing. You will be shocked once you actually have it in your hand. You're like, dude, that's a small, because think of it, this is literally the same hardware used in some drones for their camera setup. So it's not big. However, the sensor is comparatively big. It's half-inch sensor. Now, yes, it is true other webcam sensors are small. Yes, it is true majority of mobile camera sensors are still small. But if you go into high-end camera, high-end mobile phones, then you will find something that exists. You may even find something that is as huge as 1-inch sensor. So don't be surprised by this image. But again, be mindful, compared to bare minimum, this is a good approach. And it also has stabilization for wobbly situation. Like, why the heck you need stabilization in webcam? Well, you have to understand, especially if you have a laptop, you're working on it, especially if you're typing, it shakes a lot. I have a computer, but my table is a wooden solid table. What if it's not? Then anything you are doing on a keyboard will translate into your monitor vibrating. And yes, it does show up. Unless the bitrate is so low that people will not notice it, but if the bitrate is high, people will notice that it's shaking. Again, this is a gimbal, so stabilization is like an added bonus. So it is a very unique combination. So what about quality? Well, thankfully, we are finally here where we can say after decades of stagnation, we have true improvements, like fundamentally changing. Because you have to understand, Logitech C900 series was a really great game-changing webcam, like truly good quality webcam. After that, nothing happened. Like literally nothing. Now, however, the big shock of 2020 literally shook the entire industry. That created a scenario where people started to realize there is a demand for webcam, because here's the, this is the ultimate setup for, well, even for me, if I could afford it, is that have a goddamn full frame mirrorless camera and have HDMI output. Now that's good and all, but it's idiotically expensive. Like I'm talking about like few $1,000s, like a bare minimum $2,000 or $3,000, and that's just with camera body. We'll let go of the lenses and all that jazz. So that's how people are doing. They're having a mirrorless camera, micro four third camera, and then have HDMI output, then HDMI capture, then final output. That works amazingly, but again, it's idiotically expensive and not something that you can just plug and play. So we were stuck in two options, either Logitech C900 series or this mirrorless setup. So there was no growth, even though you would notice your mobile phone went during the same time frame from garbage to damn to almost DSLR killer. So that's something finally starting to happen in basically webcam industry. So it has something that is truly able to beat C922, not Bravia, even that also, because fundamentally speaking, Logitech, many people are saying that Logitech launched the Bravia series just for lols. It's not truly 4K, and the 60 FPS is 30 FPS interpolated. So it's not that great. So this is a true 4K 30 FPS system. Now, true 4K does not mean much for majority of people, but it may be desirable if you are doing a lot of zoom in, crop ins, and especially in post-production after you're recording something. In those sort of time, you'll like, shut up and take my money. It does know this fact that most people won't use 4K. So they are like, what if we give you HD but with HDR? So it does require extra processing, but consequence, it drops the resolution. But again, dropped resolution is still full HD. So for more than enough people, full HD HDR quality one is more than good enough. Shut up and take my money. A really good usable output. I have provided an output comparison between iPhone. Why I'm saying iPhone, I'll talk about that. Logitech C922, other cameras also. So reality is actually good. Now, do not under any circumstances compare this to any mirrorless camera that people are using, especially that have huge sensors. For example, let's say even Micro Four Third has much larger sensor. So do not, and especially don't even go to like a camera setup that has good lens to it. So yeah, don't expect, oh, I'm gonna buy this and I don't have to do this streamer thing. If you really want to really push your quality, there is a reason why every streamer ends up getting this. So don't compare the output to this, but be mindful, from price to performance ratio, this is ludicrously bad. And it's much easier to use than phone as a webcam. Now, this is one good thing about Apple, that they have listened to the customer. They're like, hey, you have iPhone, you have Mac, we're gonna make sure they work with each other and they're gonna act as a webcam. And that gives you really good output. For many people, that's good enough. But be mindful, can I say that it's something that majority of you can do? Most of it, even if you can do it, you may not want to. You may not want to put your webcam in one position. You may not even have a mobile phone holder where you're just like putting, or maybe you're using your phone and you also want to be in video call. Then what the hell you gonna do? So in those sort of scenario, it's not as convenient. Like I used to do live streaming utilizing my mobile phone as webcam, but unless Google inherently starts to support it, it's not something that is very easy to do. It can be done. I was getting some good results with it, but something happened. The app, it's a paid app that I was paying for, it stopped working. So that happens. That's why I said, like, from a practical usability point of view, is much better than any phone as a webcam. It's actually good enough, almost comparable to a phone outcome. Mid-range phone, not high-end, mid-range phone, and do not compare to mirrorless output. So, but it is really good. Finally, you can say, no, it's like a Logitech C922 versus this. You will like, no, this is actually better. Not just like a little bit better or a little bit of better highlights. Nah, actually better. So what about these AI? Well, it has some useful AI, and that simply means somebody actually sat down with the industry and tried to figure out what people actually need. Many times you will see it has this, it has that, but everybody is like, dude, is there a use of it? So this is completely opposite. Everybody wants this and they want it right now. For example, it has a look down mode, meaning the webcam can look down at your table. Now you're like, okay, we have the table, but it will be very skewed if your camera tries to look down. Here's the deal. Computer knows this. The AI will recognize the surface and they will deperspectivize it, meaning it will remove the perspective from it and then it will look. And here, the fact that it is 4K, it can do it properly. It has enough resolution. If it's gonna stretch it, it will not look very distorted. So for many people, they're like, the moment they see this, they're like, shut up, take my money, I'm done. I'm going. For example, let's say you're doing video recording or something and you're working on an electronics project. You can show your electronics project here and then like also talk face to face if you need to, if you're troubleshooting with someone. So for that, just shut up and take my money. Then we come to online classes. That's becoming a very big deal right now. So they're like, what if we're gonna sell you 4 stickers? That stickers are like corner markers. You place it on wherever you want to and you just do a gesture. The moment you do the gesture, it finds that markers, zoom into that area, crop into that area, and then remove the perspective from that. And now you have a full system. It's like somebody actually sat down and is like, what do we want to do? Actually, is it useful to do? That's like awesome. Like, again, for many of you, this is like, what's the point? What is the point? For the people who need this, they're like, I'm already buying this, I'm already pre-ordering this, or they may have already pre-ordered it. So this is really good. And in terms of AI, noise cancellation is also there, meaning the noise cancellation is not just lol noise cancellation, because you can find this sort of noise gate suppression and all that jazz that are very basic. This noise cancellation that they are providing is actually a bit better. Is it as good as RTX noise suppression? Not that good, but it is good. It is good. So it's a really useful suite of AI that they have packed into this. So the question becomes to buy or not to buy. Now in US, the price is $300. So it's not cheap. And in India, it could easily cross 30,000 rupees. So again, really not cheap. So for most people, I would say stay away from that, especially if you have a very mid-range equipment and all that jazz, laptop integrated webcam. Buy Logitech C922. It's best bang for buck, meaning it's not very expensive. It does not have the most amazing performance, but flat out, if you are having this, nobody will say that, you know what, it does not work. Like this is at a point where this like, dude, it just works. It's like, again, is it the latest and greatest? No. Is it good enough? Absolutely. So this is really good. But if you are doing a lot of streaming and you are moving a lot, for example, this lady, they're a very good example. If she is a dancer and she is moving around the stage, you need a gimbal to track you, or you need a very large frame that you can crop in very efficiently. how the heck you gonna do that without having any third person? AI based system, done. And given the fact it has gimbals are far more easier to control compared to like, okay, scan the whole frame, then try to crop in, try to zoom in. It's not that desirable. So for those sort of people, it's like, shut up and take my money. Giving online classes, board meetings, Zoom meetings, all those jazz, just take it and buy, especially if you have to annotate something. And if you're not happy with mediocre quality, the quality of C922 is good, it's not bad, but it's like mediocre. So it's like, okay, but if you want to like, no, it's not okay, it's good, you may want to, you have to spend money on it, either on this, or you may just bite the bullet and get a like full frame camera, or maybe even a micro four third or APS-C. They are becoming really good, especially with giant lenses which can be like 25mm f1.2. in those sort of time, you're like, dude, that would be like butter. People are doing that. So that could be the scenario. And there are very few other options that you can have, like just plug and play and don't think too much about it. There are very few options. For example, Elgato Facecam is also a very good option, but again, this is completely opposite to that. That has autofocus, has tracking. This is like fixed focus. Benefit, it will never ever do hunting. Side effect, you really have to be inside a sweet spot. Now that sweet spot, they have analyzed the market and they're like, a gamer will be in this sort of sweet spot, a streamer would be in this sort of sweet spot, but that's it. What if you are not in the sweet spot? The quality will start to go down. And it's a big camera, it does have even bigger sensors. So if raw image quality is your core requirement, shut up and buy this. But be mindful, this is also very expensive. So this camera is a really good approach, and I'm really happy with that there are other companies that are actually trying to make webcams, because Logitech is a basically peripheral company. Other peripheral company who tried to do this was Razer, but they flopped. Intel also tried it, flopped. So reality is Logitech is almost like the king, and they are not truly innovating. They're like meh. Like they literally launched a product that was like a super expensive 4K, had full HD 60 FPS, but people looked at, dude, it's not 60 FPS, 30 FPS interplaced. It's like, what the hell? So fundamentally, I'm really happy with this sort of camera. Again, for people who need this, they're like, just shut up and take my money. And it does have some unique selling point for its sort of price. So this was my presentation on basically this Insta360 Link webcam. Hopefully you have liked it, learned from it. In that case, please click the like button, share it amongst your friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike, press it twice to show me extra disappointment. Please leave a comment because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free, and as always, thanks for watching.